We continue to follow some breaking news for you tonight. This is a live look outside of the address tied to the alleged shooter from the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Guests have long since been evacuated after shots were fired outside of the high-profile journalist dinner. The president and multiple senior leaders were in attendance tonight. Giving you a look inside of that dinner, journalists took cover tonight and the room was filled with lots of chatter after shots were fired. When the gunfire erupted, the Secret Service says the shooting suspect, identified as Cole Thomas, was approaching the main metal detectors steps away from the ballroom. Members of the Secret Service quickly whisked the president, the vice president, and other dignitaries away. The suspected shooter is in custody at this time, and local police in Washington, D.C. broke down the response to this incident and gave more info about the suspect.
At approximately 8:36 tonight, an individual charged a U.S. Secret Service checkpoint here in the lobby area of the hotel. He was armed with a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives. As he ran through that checkpoint, members of law enforcement from the United States Secret Service intercepted that individual.
The Nevada Republican Party released a statement following the shooting, applauding the work of the Secret Service tonight. Chairman Michael McDonald's statement reads in part, "Their professionalism ensured the safety of those in attendance. We thank them for their courage and continued commitment to protecting the American people. We are keeping President Trump and all those involved in our prayers and hoping for swift justice." Stay with Fox 5 as